I was declared dead for 3 days. When the South Tower came down, I was right underneath it, and I realized I had about 10 seconds left to live. Slightly more than 12 years ago, on September 11, 2001, it was a day that it seemed the world stood still for a full day in all 198 countries of Earth.
An incredible plane crash into the World Trade Center.
We have serious news of a major possible air crash in the United States.
And I was in the middle of it in New York City. My firehouse was right across the street where I began my career in 1980. I was under the second jet. It came right over my head when United Airlines Flight 175 struck the South Tower 17 minutes after the North Tower. I was declared dead for 3 days. When the South Tower came down, I was right underneath it, and I realized I had about 10 seconds left to live. And all I was afraid of was that my body would never be found or identified. And I started running, but I never made it. The South Tower came down, all my ribs were broken, my arm was snapped in half, my shoulders were torn off, my back was crushed, and I was bleeding internally. And I'm buried underneath the South Tower with all these other people. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. We couldn't see each other. We were all pinned under steel and concrete, and we were suffocating. And I begged God to take my life. I couldn't live in this pain, and a few minutes later, we were all in the middle of all these fires. And then the screams of those people turned into cries, cries turned into whimpers, and whimpers turned into silence, and one by one, they had all died. I'll never know them. We couldn't see each other, and I was still breathing. And then at that point, people came and they were digging, and they found me, and they got me on a boat. And on the boat, they were intending to take me across the river to New Jersey to a hospital because I had to get there immediately if they were going to save me. And then a half hour later, the North Tower fell, and it fell on top of the boat, and I got buried in the engine room of the boat all alone. And once again, I'm suffocating, I can't breathe, and I'm in tremendous pain for almost an hour until they found me again, buried in the engine room. And then the boat was taken across the river to a hospital in New Jersey. But nobody thought about looking in hospitals in other states. And that's where I ended up, in New Jersey, a hospital called Jersey City Trauma Center. And for 3 days, I was declared missing because I was misidentified. You see, boys and girls, this all leads up to the most interesting part of the story. You see, boys and girls, I started my career in the firehouse across the street from the World Trade Center, Engine Company 10. I started my career there in 1980 when that firehouse opened. And I stood there for 16 years until I was promoted to lieutenant on September 5th, 1996. They asked me to work in their Office of Fire Safety Education. And boys and girls, 8 months into that assignment, I was named the director of the whole program. And then at that point, I get a call from Fisher-Price Toys. I figured they got a wrong phone number. What do you want? This is, we want to run something by you might be interested in. Well, what is it? They wanted a New York City firefighter to be their new rescue hero. And as I was telling them what a firefighter looks like with his bunker gear, his tools, his equipment, his air mask, and they want to have a big press conference in New York City. They want to introduce this new rescue hero. Well, they were so excited. They said, when can we do it? And I'm brainstorming in the meeting. I says, 911 is the emergency phone number in New York City. Why don't we have a 911 day in New York? This was the new rescue hero being introduced on September 11, 2001 at 9 o'clock in the morning when the first jet struck the tower. On my way to the press conference, I saw the tower fully engulfed with flames, and I had to make a big decision. What do I do? Do I go to the press conference for Billy Blazes, which didn't happen anyway, or do I make my way to my old firehouse across the street from the Twin Towers? And that's what I did. Boys and girls, I didn't have to be there that day. I was in a dress uniform. I took my uniform off and borrowed a set of firefighting gear. And in that rescue effort, I was buried. And by the time the sun went down on the evening of September 11th, 2001, 344 firefighters were declared dead. 3 days later, one was found alive in another state, in a hospital, in an operating room, and that was me. And boys and girls, Billy Blazers would come to represent those 343 heroes that I worked with who made the supreme sacrifice of life. Let this day ignite you more than anything could ever ignite you. Billy Blazers, a New York City firefighter rescue hero, is the only rescue hero that represents real people, and that's not me. It was the other 343 firefighters who I get the honor of telling their story. And the marvel of the story, as you're gonna see, life changes. Life takes you down roads you didn't know were meant for you. Life takes you down roads that offer challenges and changes all of us in so many different ways. And that's why, boys and girls, all through life, you gotta be resilient like a palm tree. It's important to keep your eyes open and your hearts open.
See if we can help some people out here. That's 9 truck, one of the first 2 companies destroyed.